Want to learn how to get your life in balance? Stay tuned. We'll show you how. Coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Myrtle Beach Herald. We're focused on life's balance wheel. And we're visiting with Donna Tyson, a motivational speaker. Good morning, Donna.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for getting back in. I know it was a month and a half or so ago when you were with us, and we were highlighting so many aspects. And, of course, we were able to focus on your life and the kickoff of the Red Bow gifts, coffee and tea, and how successful that's going about. We want to hear a little bit about that, but exciting to get you in today.
Thank you.
To share a little bit about life's balance wheel. And there were so many other things we could talk about, making a difference, and there's so many great topics, but this will be a treat.
Good. This is one of my favorites.
Life's balance wheel.
It is.
Life's balance wheel.
Because I teach what I need to learn the most.
Those are good words. I teach what I need to learn the most. What about, let's share with the viewers real quick about yourself. Are you originally from the area?
I'm not. I was born and raised in Roanoke, Virginia, and then went to school in Bluefield, fell in lust, got married, went to Fredericksburg, Virginia. The fine print at the bottom of the marriage contract said, "I will take you back to my stomping grounds."
Oh, wow.
And I lived there the majority of my adult life, raised my family there, and have only recently moved to Myrtle Beach within the last 2 years.
Now, you're on the road a good bit, Donna.
All the time.
Oh, come on. All the time?
Well, it feels like all the time. I just got back really late last night, so it feels like all the time today.
You are on the road once a week, a couple times a week, or every other week?
Several times a week right
really?
now.
Wow.
It is. But that's slower than it was several years ago. 4 years ago, I was on the road during fall conference season about 20 days a month, and that's just way too much. So my ideal is to be on the road 5 to 7 times a month.
Particularly when you live at the beach.
I know.
I think I remember you get out to the beach pretty regularly.
Every morning at
sunrise.
sunrise.
You were out earlier this morning.
6 o'clock. I was there waiting for the clouds.
Just an hour ago.
to
Well,
rise.
Thanks for getting changed so quickly to get over here.
It's
it really
amazing.
means a lot. I know. It's amazing what ladies can do. I know I can't move that fast.
I love it.
That's very exciting. What about, share with the viewers real quick about the success of the kickoff of the Red Bow gifts, coffee, and tea.
It's been great fun, and we appreciate so much you telling the viewers about it. We had several people come in from across the PD. It is an inspirational gift shop, gourmet coffee shop, and a meeting room. And I get to do all the things I love under one roof. I don't want to stay on the road all the time. I love the speaking, but I certainly want to slow my life down and be able to have a real life. And so having the coffee shop and the gift shop and a place where I can do the seminars here at the beach will be the future that I look forward to building.
So when you say the meeting room, you mean oftentimes the seminars are being held there?
Oh, definitely. We can hold 25 people right there.
Really? Great.
Yeah, so it's fun.
And what a prime location for viewers in Red Springs or Laurinburg or Hartsville who may not live right here on the Strand. Share with them real quick if they're down at the beach, if they're visiting either on a weekend, this weekend, or 6 months from now.
It's great fun. We are part of the downtown revitalization effort, and we are directly across 17 Business from the pavilion.
Okay.
And so we took an older building on 9th Avenue North,
right,
and we opened into Nance Plaza, the beautiful fountains. We have outdoor tables now, and we're open from 6 in the morning until 8 at night, Monday through Friday, and 8 to 6 on Saturdays. And we have about 14 seats inside that you can sit down and enjoy a smoothie or a cup of coffee or tea, or you can pick up your cup and walk around and look at all the gifts.
Yes, it was a treat popping in for a smoothie last week.
That's right. See, we had to have you like the drink so you could talk about it.
It was very nice on that Monday. Absolutely. Last Monday, that was really a treat to pop in there and to see Sherry. And, of course, I don't think John Curry was around.
He was working Farmers Market that day, I do believe.
Myrtle's Market.
Yes.
That's great.
We've opened up a booth there now on Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday to take coffee and pastries to the locals that are shopping and refer them back to the shop.
Oh, yeah,
so it's been fun.
Getting
and we're
folks...
taking your better blue water with us.
Well, thank you, Donna. We need that, absolutely. Someone's got to sell it. That's right.
We're going to try.
Yeah.
We're going to try.
We've donated to virtually every charity in town, so that's great. I'm glad to know that.
Well, we're going to try to move beyond the charity level to make it a win-win sell for
Donna.
both of us.
That's very kind. That's very kind. When someone hears life's balance wheel, that opens up a heck of a lot. I I guess you think about riding a bike for the first time, or you think about actual wheels.
Sure.
You think about those old scenes of people creating wheels many, many, many years ago.
Sure. Well, I'm a visual person, and so when I talk to people about staying positive in life and rising above the circumstances, I talk to them about energy. And oftentimes when you say the word energy, people freeze. You know, they think you're talking New Age, Shirley MacLaine, shooting lights, auras. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that you are made up of living, moving human energy cells. And you can turn on CSI on Thursday nights and see it under a microscope if you need to.
No, that's not on Fox.
Well, I apologize.
No,
Just momentarily look at it.
That's right. Forgive me. Yes, yes.
And but you know, energy begets energy, and so when we talk about staying balanced in life, we ask you to realize that everything you do takes energy. And for many of us, type A personalities, you included,
Yeah.
we eat, drink, breathe, sleep what we do, and we're always going, and we don't necessarily stop and really focus on where we're spending our energy and what impact it has on whether we're refilling our energy or just constantly putting it out. And so the concept of the life's balance wheel is that there are 6 different areas that you put your energy into. Almost everything you can do can be categorized in one of these 6 spokes. And it is career, social, physical, financial, spiritual, and emotional. And if you envision the balance wheel like a piece of pie cut into 6 pieces, it is critical that they be balanced. And typically what we do is we focus a lot of energy in 2 or 3 of those areas, and then when we hit a crisis in one of the other areas, we break. And the concept of the wheel is it's always rolling, you're always moving, and you have to go back and rebalance often. And so it isn't a one-time fix. You don't listen to the show and fix an area and think it's going to last forever. It's kind of like taking a bath. You got to do it again and again for it to have the effect. And so balancing that life's balance wheel is an ongoing procedure in your life. So
That's powerful. It's good to think about it that way, and I'm sure that tire companies like to hear you talking about balancing your wheel.
maybe they'll sponsor us.
That's right, absolutely.
We'll go to the tire company for this.
Yes.
But actually, you know, a lot of my talks are with business professionals, and I think they're quite taken back when they realize that we're not going to come in and tell them to dedicate every waking hour to career, but that it is in the balance that they're going to be more effective and positive in the job if they will look at the total balance. And in the career spoke, which is what the majority of us put the majority of our time in, if you count the number of hours you're in your job versus anywhere else in your life, you're in your job more than you're in your home, with your significant other, in your car. You're in your job, and yet there are people who go to work every day and hate it. They're in a negative situation. They don't enjoy what they're doing. They don't respect who they work with, and they show up as living fossils in body only, with no enthusiasm and no spirit, and they talk about waiting for retirement, or my life starts when I get home in the afternoon or on the weekends. But if you're spending the majority of your life in your job and you have that philosophy, you're creating a form of living suicide, because you're saying where I spend the majority of my life, it doesn't count. And so when we talk about the career spoke, we really encourage people to look at some place that they can make a difference and not just make a living. And that there's a book out called Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow. And that anything you like to do, somebody gets paid to do that. If you like to golf, there are people who get paid to golf. If you like to play tennis, there are tennis pros. If you like sex, there are people who get paid for sex. Not legally, but there are people. And anything you like to do, somebody gets paid for it. And so find what your passion is and find a way to put yourself into that position in a career and watch it grow. And then be careful not to let that become your whole world. And I learned that from my father. My father was a Greyhound bus driver, one of the proudest men I've ever known. My dad didn't have a high school education, didn't have a college degree, but he taught me that being a professional is when you do something you love and you give it the best you've got. And my father absolutely treated every person that got on his bus with total respect. and loved what he did. And he had to take early retirement from Greyhound at 55 years old, right before they went on strike. And my dad had never been sick a day in his life. He took off his uniform, looked in the mirror, and saw an unemployed, uneducated, unnecessary man in his mind. And 3 months later had a massive heart attack at 55 years old. And they tell me that's not uncommon when you're not happy in your life, that when you're not happy, the body always finds a way to weep the tears that your eyes refuse to shed. And Era 3 medicine, Joni Born-Cinco, Bernie Siegel, Larry Dossey, connects health to the mind, body, and spirit, what you believe and how you think, and that disease is exactly what it says, dis-ease of the spirit. And so when I saw my father, who was this proud, loving, kind man, have a heart attack and then totally changed after his heart attack. He became a bitter, intolerant, angry, rude man. I don't know if he was afraid of living or dying. He just quit trying. And my dad was very angry that he felt he'd waited his whole life for the golden years and they didn't exist. And I remembered a saying that says, if what you do is who you are, then when you don't, you ain't. And that was so much my father. In his uniform, he knew who he was, he knew what his purpose was, and he was proud of it. And the day he didn't have the title, he didn't know who he was. And in our society, we see that all the time. That's why people are having such a hard time with companies downsizing and sending them home to work from home, because how is anybody going to know I'm important if I don't have an office, if I don't have, a title? And in our society, when you meet someone, the first thing you ask them after their name is, what do you do? Like that's going to tell them something magic. So when we talk career spoke, we really ask people not to let that become your whole life. For me, I had a 17-year-old daughter who graduated from high school, the love of my life. My Nikki was always my best friend. I'm sure when I was born, God said, somebody's got to go help this woman, and Nikki signed up. And when she graduated, I was losing my best friend. She was the commencement speaker. I sat behind her. She was giving her farewell address to the senior class, and I was the commencement speaker waiting to speak. And I remember how many times I would come home, and we've had this conversation. You'd work all day, go to all the community events, the Chamber of Commerce, the Heart Association, all the things you had to go to, and finally get home and put food on the table and sit down, and my little girl would come up and say, Mommy, will you come tuck me in? And I'd say, all right, Nikki, but I just sat down. But I'd huff up the stairs and tuck her in, and she'd say, Mama, will you lay with me? And I'd say, okay, Nikki, but just 5 minutes. I still have to wash the dishes. I've got to open the mail. I've got to return these phone calls. And I'd lay with her and count off the 5 minutes the whole time. And now, at this stage of my life, I realize what a mistake that was, and how I would give anything in my life to have those 5 minutes back. And so in the career spoke, what I tell you is, if you're going to be in your job, be somewhere that you love it, give it the best you've got while you're there, but don't ever let that job become who you are. Because that doorknob will hit you in the tail when you walk out. Your children grow up, your family moves on, and you never get those moments back with those young people. That's why we get to be such good grandparents, because we get a second chance,
right.
You see.
Those are good words, yes.
So,
that's very important.
That's the career
Glad you highlight that for the grandmothers and fathers out there. That's right.
What is it Bill Crosby says? These are not the parents that raised me. These are old people trying to get into heaven.
Oh, yes.
So...
That's great. Golly, but of course, as it relates to a balance wheel, when someone's thinking about that and you're thinking about 6 pieces of that pie, you're thinking they're all equal. Now, it's not broken up in time, but as they should relate to your life, those 6 should be...
Well, they need to be scheduled in. They need to constantly have energy being dedicated to them. We schedule in appointments for business, but we don't schedule in the social time with our family and friends. You know, a date night with your loved one, a night just for your child that they know that's dedicated to them, time to exercise, time to worship, time to draw strength spiritually, time for yourself. You know, all of those spokes are critical. The career comes easiest because it's where we know we have to be.
Right.
But learning to say no and learning to recognize that you can spend 15 hours a day at work, but you're losing moments with your child and loved ones you never get back. And that's part of the career spoke.
How about segueing into the other 5? How do you oftentimes, now when you're doing motivational speaking, Don, are you opening the crowd up to questions throughout, or are you rolling and then you see questions at the end oftentimes? Right.
But I feed on the energy of the crowd. I speak to the heart, I look at the eyes, I feed on the energy, and I go to where I see that they're responding the most. And after we talk about career, the next spoke is the social spoke. And what I caution people in the social spoke is to remember that in the same way that if you let your job become who you are, if you let your relationship to any other human being become your identity as somebody's husband or wife or mother or father or sister or brother or friend, what are you going to do when that person's gone? And they will be. You come into this world alone, you leave this world alone, and those relationships are beautiful gifts you're given along the way. And I can't tell you how many, especially women, I have come up to me after I speak and say, "Oh, Donna, please help me. I've been a good mama. I baked real cookies. I went to PTA. I cooked. I cleaned. I never got a job outside the house. And now my kids have grown up and moved out. My husband ran off and left me or died. I can't find him. And my whole world's fallen apart." Why? Because all I did was love my family. And what I say is, right reasons, wrong balance, because you have to know who you are. And any of us that have ever had the misfortune to go through a divorce, if that's all you know about who you are is who you are in that relationship, it can destroy you. When you lose a parent, if your pride is in being the daughter or the son, and that parent dies, you have no identity. And so you have to know you're bigger than that. And
that ties into everyone, Donna. You're speaking to everyone.
It does.
It's like the old mantra of, I know folks have a lot more money. We've talked about that, more nicer cars, nicer houses, but no one has more time than I do. And that's a vital thing when you're breaking down. You're talking to everyone, all of our viewers and virtually everyone.
It's universal.
Everyone thinks about themselves. Lots of folks think about themselves in relation to others.
It is.
They think about themselves in relation to their job.
And when my father died, he had another massive heart attack, and he passed, it'll be 6 years ago this October. I'm a motivational speaker. I talk to people about staying positive. But I did not know you could lose somebody you love and feel like a piece of you died at the same time. And it was very, very hard to want to go on with life after I lost my dad. I was daddy's girl. And I had to really do some soul searching about who I was without his presence in my life. And the way I've made peace with that is I really see life as this big book of life, and my father was my favorite chapter. He'll be the favorite chapter forever in my book. And there'll never be another chapter like him. But we have to write the next chapter. It is my responsibility to write a chapter now that is positive, and that I give myself permission to laugh and love and go on with life, and that doesn't betray the last chapter. And so seeing life in chapters, I think it gives you permission to accept whatever you're in and know it's temporary, and there will be another chapter that follows.
Don, I was thinking to myself, if we were doing a week on life's balance wheel, and you had career on Monday and social on Tuesday and physical, of course there'd be one spoke that had to be crammed in with one of the other spokes.
Exactly.
And I'm kind of feeling that way now, because the director just said we have 6.5 minutes
to do 4 spokes.
We've got 4 more spokes. So how would you, if you were doing it on the Monday through Friday,
right,
and had those 6, which would kind of compile together? Career and social looks like you could easily talk about 30 minutes each.
You could, easily.
And virtually all of them, maybe career all week long.
Sure.
But
well, the other 4 are career, social, physical, financial, spiritual, and emotional.
Right.
And to make a really brief summary
give us
of
a
each.
minute on each of those 4, please.
The physical spoke is that to recognize that you can have the best job in the world, wonderful family, great friends, and if your health goes, you don't get to enjoy any of it. And the statistics say that we spend more money in the last 3 days of a person's life trying to keep them alive than they do their entire life on routine physical maintenance. And so it is the responsibility that if you want to enjoy all the other spokes, you have to take care of the physical, and you have to eat right, and you have to sleep, Greg, and you have to exercise. And we know that, but knowledge without action is worthless. And so you just have to do it. And then the financial spoke is a whole nother week in and of itself, but that you have to take time when you make money to look at where the money is and to put 10% in savings, 10% giving back to the world, and then learn to live on 80%. That's called the Laws of Abundance in this wonderful book called The Richest Man in Babylon. Great book. And just to be aware, you know, that the balance in the financial situation, you have to honor that. The spiritual spoke is not a denominational spoke or a religious spoke. It is truly recognizing that there is a void inside of each one of us, that till you take time to look at, what do I really believe? Not what was I taught to believe, what should I believe? What do I really believe about life and death and God and my purpose? And then look at, does my life reflect it? Do I live what I really believe? Because when you hit crisis situations, the spiritual spoke has to be strong to give you strength to go through that. And the final spoke is emotional. And that's where you quit blaming everybody else for whether you're happy or sad or fat or skinny or rich or poor, and you just realize that it's nobody else's job to keep you happy, that you have to take care of yourself. And if you love flowers, buy yourself flowers. And if you love to go to the movies, take yourself to the movies and quit waiting for somebody else to do it for you.
Golly, Donna. You know, you think about that aspect as I'm sitting here, and this is something you could do on a weekly basis. I mean, you could lay out.
We should talk.
Absolutely. I mean, you should think about doing a show or something.
Now, Oprah has Dr. Phil. See, I can be your Dr. Donna.
There we are.
I've got the initials,
I mean, you know,
DR.
That's a very good point. Dr. Donna. Dr. Donna. I like that. That would flow very well. You know, it's just so exciting sitting here thinking about that. You've got so much, and of course we haven't even highlighted. And I know when we looked originally, when we were with you a couple of weeks ago, the outstanding customer service. I'm sure there's so many folks, the power communication skills, the management, the leadership, the next step, the web we weave.
Yeah.
There's so many different subjects. I mean, you could go on and on, but all this is, I guess a key question for viewers would be, A, how do they get in touch with you?
Sure.
If they wanted to have a chance to talk to you, but B, how does someone become a motivational speaker? That's a huge question. I mean, how does this happen?
You know, I feel blessed. I get to do what I love. It was total destiny. I was working in other businesses, had the privilege to get some awards and recognition on the state and national level. When they ask you to do your speeches, they ask you, how did you succeed? What do you believe in? And that's where the speaking started. I just started sharing the truths as I know it. Wow. And I'd love for people to call me.
Can we call you at the Red Bow
You
Gives
sure
Coffee
can.
and Tea?
Right now, that's probably the best place in the world, and that number is 843-448-8354. Or come on down and have coffee with me.
Absolutely. Travel in. Of course, you're out a good bit, but they could catch Sherry or John.
Sure,
Who are some of the
can.
other folks around? I mean, you've got folks coming in and out of there all the time.
We do.
I think it was so exciting. When I was in last Monday week, there was a woman and her significant other who came in as I was running out the door that had seen you maybe in New Orleans recently or otherwise.
Yeah, she heard me speak on the turning point, and I shared some pretty personal things in there about growth and lessons, and she had lost her teenage son in December to suicide through drugs, and emailed me and told me how my talk had given her permission to share her story in her business settings with Rotary and Chamber, and how much it had meant. And they came to Myrtle Beach on vacation and came in and sat and shared. It was great. I loved it.
The most exciting thing for me was seeing the way she looked when she walked in the door and saw you. It was the biggest grin I'd ever seen. It was like she was in, it would be like she was in the presence of Oprah or something. I mean, in the presence of someone who had dramatically changed her life.
Well,
And, I've never watched Oprah. I listened to Oprah on 87.7 recently with WECT on the radio. Thank you, Lane. I listened to Oprah the other day, and she had the gal, Catwoman, on, talking about her life in a terrible situation with her husband who was addicted to sex.
Yeah,
and
truly.
just the whole thing. It was fascinating hearing how powerful something like that could be, as I listened just intently, not wanting to get to my destination and have to cut it off.
Well, Oprah has taken a step to try to make a difference instead of just make a living, exactly what we talked about. She looks for the lessons, and her shows, she talks about real issues with real solutions, and there's power in that, and she's to be applauded.
We may have some viewers who would know some good people for you to talk to about potentially helping to do something like this,
Sure.
Donna.
I'd love to. I'm wide open, so if you think you'd like
I don't know
that,
if you're in town often enough, but
I would make myself be in town if you think we have the chance.
that'd be great. Donna, thanks so much
Thank
for being with us
you.
this morning.
It's always a privilege.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Donna Tyson coming up next. You heard her talk about a key word so much as we sit here for the last 30 minutes, a real short word, you. You can really make a difference, but it starts with you. You create the world you live in. How to get balance in your life. Life's balance wheel, those are really important things. You heard her talk about the 6 spokes. If you weren't with us the last 30 minutes, hopefully you can catch her in the next few months, and we can hopefully get her back. The phone number was simple, 843-448-8354. Give her a ring. Let her know you'd like to learn more.